I hate intros, Kakegurui, episode 1. Our story starts out at Hyaku Private Academy, with the first scene showing the main character Ryota Suzui, who is more of a side character in a tense game of poker. He's up against Mary Saotome, who's either stressed or aroused, which is surprisingly difficult to tell in this anime. Suzui thinks he has a winning hand with a full house, but to his dismay, Mary actually has a royal straight flush, so he ends up losing. This loss puts him in debt to Mary, and since he can't pay it, he has to become a house pet. And sure, this looks pretty demeaning at face value, but I think there's some glaring perks. Some people would pay to have this kind of treatment. Introducing the cliche transfer student, Jabami Yumeko. Because she is new, she needs somebody to show her around, and who better to do that than the class rep, who just so happens to be Suzui. Yumeko appears to be nearsighted, and Suzui appears to be lacking the social development to enjoy a hot girl in his personal space. We've all been there, but then we got over it. We'll just chalk him up to a late bloomer. He takes the time to explain that gambling is a big deal at the school and to be careful if she is approached by anybody wanting to play. But she seems rather open to the idea, almost to the point where it's off-putting. Before long, she is approached by Mary for a friendly game of rock, paper, scissors. But in this version of the game, spectators draw rock, paper, or scissors on a piece of paper and place it in a box. The contestants take 3 random cards and decide which one to play from there. They play a couple of rounds and Yumeko ends up using all of her chips, which is around 1,000,000 yen. She has to play one more round and drops 10,000,000 yen cash. It's then revealed that 21 of the 30 spectators are actually helping Mary by casting certain votes. Yumeko picks up on this but decides to play anyways. Yumeko ends up winning, which puts Mary in debt. Suzui, who was in debt to Mary, was in charge of giving signals to the spectators on how to vote. Yumeko had realized this as well, but ultimately forgave him after the game was over. He plans to leave the school because he's sick of being in debt and treated like trash, so Yumeko gives him money to pay off his debt, allowing him to stay around. Episode 2. The obvious friend-zoning happens earlier than expected. We then come across Mary, who's being bullied by the rest of the class because she fell to kitty status or house pet status in the school hierarchy. You have to pay the student council to get a higher ranking, so the only way to improve your ranking is to gamble. The bottom 100 students in the ranking are labeled as house pets, kitty for females and doggy for males. The system was implemented by the student council, who are comprised of the best gamblers. After this explanation, Yumeko is approached by Sumeragi Utsuki, who is a first year on the student council because she paid her way in. She challenges Yumeko to a game of cards, and Yumeko's like, hell yeah. The game is double concentration, where 2 decks are flipped face down, and players take turns flipping cards looking for a match in both suit and number. If you find a match, you get to go again. Yumeko loses, but begs to play one more round. Sumeragi is open to the idea, but if Yumeko loses, she wants her to rip off one of her nails for a collection that Sumeragi has of people's nails who have lost to her. Which seems completely normal to just carry a case of nails around with you all day. A pattern emerges as Sumeragi is also cheating. Yumeko had picked up on this, allowing her to find 54 matches on her first turn, ending the game without Sumeragi even being able to play. Yumeko starts popping off, excited to play another round with both of their nails on the line. Sumeragi gets scared and rejects this offer. After school, Yumeko goes to find somebody to gamble against with Suzui in tow. They come across Mary, who had just lost and is now 46,000,000 yen in debt to a mysterious woman. Episode 3. We jump back a little bit to see how Mary lost, putting her in debt. This was an official match, which is the only thing that house pets can do. They can challenge anybody, but can only do it one time. So typically, they challenge student council members with large bets in hopes of getting out of house pet status. We get an introduction of Nishinobu and Yuriko, who is a member of the student council. Yuriko challenges Yumeko to a game, and Yumeko, being Yumeko, accepts. They're going to play the same game that Mary had played against her, called Life and Death. They place 10 swords in a cup and shuffle them on the board. The board has 30 numbers, and players guess where the swords are going to land. It's like roulette, except the swords can land in slots placed around the board. If it lands face up, the verdict is life, and you win 30 times the original wager. But if it lands face down, then you lose 30 times the original wager. The pattern continues when Yuriko is revealed to be cheating also. The dealer is using magnetic piercings in her hand to manipulate the sword placements. This trick can't be effective 100% of the time, so Yumeko decides to play one more round. She takes an unorthodox approach, betting all 40 of her chips on one number. If the life verdict lands on 24, then Yumeko will win 2,170,000,000 yen. With the stakes so high, the student council president has to come in to be arbiter for the bet. When the board is revealed, Yumeko was actually wrong in her guess and ends up losing 310,000,000 yen. Yumeko has the theory that the life verdict landed on 24, but the president had another magnet that even Yuriko didn't know about, move the sword out of 24 so that Yuriko would win. This makes Yumeko want to play against the president. After the loss, Yumeko falls to house pet status and is victim to the other students, but she doesn't really seem to mind. Episode 4. Both Mary and Yumeko receive a life program from the student council. The life programs outline their future life of having an arranged marriage and kids with a politician. If they're not able to pay back their debts, they'll be forced to follow this plan, paying with their future instead of money. Kiwatari is a stand-up guy and isolates Yumeko and then demands she takes her clothes off and then threatens to rape her. In response to this, Ikishima Midari steps in. She pulls out a big-ass revolver and wants to gamble that if she shoots and there's no bullet, Kiwatari can rape her instead. But if there is, he gets shot. After they seem less than eager, Midari changes the rules, stating that they can shoot at her. They decide she's mentally unstable and just end up leaving. Because so many students get too far into debt to ever pay it back, the student council holds a debt exchange game. There are 4 players in a group, and whoever finishes first gets the least amount of debt, and whoever finishes last gets the most amount of debt. Players who finish first will also have the debts paid for them by the student council. Mary and Yumeko are in the same group, and Mary explains that she has an idea. Jump ahead to the game, and the rapist is in their group along with a random girl, Tsubami and Ami. Episode 5. Halfway through the game, it's revealed that Tsubami is actually working for the rapist because she's in debt to him. Mary knew about their likely alliance, and that's why she teamed up with Yumeko. In the final round, Tsubami has a winning hand and will overtake first place from the rapist if she plays it. He's trying to intimidate her into folding, while Yumeko uses erotic reinforcement to help her stand up for herself. She finally decides to stop being oppressed by him and plays her hand, overtaking first place. Or so it seemed, but Yumeko and Mary had switched debt values before the game. This messed up the value of the chips that they were originally betting with, so when the standings are revealed, Mary was actually in first place. In the end, Rapist finished 4th place and is now 310 million yen in debt to the student council.
あなたは我が生徒会に対し3億1000万の負債を負いました。返せない場合、あなたは家畜となります。
Mary gets a check from the student council for 260 million yen, which ends her house pet status. On the other hand, Yumeko had finished 3rd and takes on an additional 30 million yen of debt. Mary gets groped by Yumeko, marking the official start of their friendship. Episode 6. Even though Mary had given Yumeko money to pay off her debt, she still hasn't done it, suggesting that Yumeko is trying to keep her house pet status so that she can challenge the president. The student council performs a background check on Yumeko and reveals that she might actually be very rich. She lost both of her parents and is paying for her sister to be hospitalized at a university special ward for a long time, which suggests she has a lot of money to do this. The student council picks up on the fact that Yumeko probably isn't paying so that she can challenge the president. After hearing this, Midori jumps into action to prevent her from challenging the president because she wants her to herself. Mary is approached by the president and asked to speak alone. Yumeko is searching for the president, but gets intercepted by Midori, who take her and Suzui captive. They need some kinky undertones, which explains the handcuffs. Midori explains that if Yumeko wants to gamble with the president, she has to gamble with her first. Yumeko is pleasantly surprised and eager to take Midori up on her bet. Over to Mary, the president offers her a position on the student council, but she doesn't respond. The last couple of scenes are of Yumeko losing the first round and Midori preparing to shoot her. Episode 7. Midori is ready to shoot Yumeko, but when the revolvers were shuffled, she got Yumeko's gun, which wasn't loaded. We get some backstory about Midori and how she lost 300 million yen to the president and ends up paying the debt with her eye. During the second round, Yumeko wins and she goes to shoot Midori, and Midori gets off on this but doesn't get shot. Yumeko could tell by the weight of the gun that it's hers because there's no bullets in it. The last round ends up being a tie, and so nobody gets shot. Yumeko explains that Midori is actually just trying to die and she hates people like that. Midori falls in love with Yumeko after this reaction. Over to Mary, who refused the student council position, and when she's asked why, she doesn't answer. The president thinks it's because she can't ethically support the house pet system, when in reality, Mary just wants revenge on the student council for putting her in house pet status before. Episode 8. We start out with the introduction of a new character, Yumemi, who is an idol and a member of the student council. The president is leaving somewhere, but nobody knows where she's going. In light of recent games Yumeko has played, the student council members are trying to figure out what to do about her. Manyuta starts acting in the president's stead and allows Yumemite to take care of Yumeko since she's confident she can. Sumeragi Itsuki makes her reappearance when she wants to help Yumeko beat the president and take her position. After her loss to Yumeko, Sumeragi was removed from the student council. She figures if Yumeko becomes the president, she can get back onto the council. Yumemite issues the challenge to Yumeko, and Yumeko always accepts, so she goes to meet with her. Yumeko loses, she will have to form an idol group with Yumemite, and if she wins, then she'll get 50 million yen. However, during the meeting, Yumeko exposes Yumemite with a letter that she received proving that Yumemite actually hates all of her fans as an idol. Yumemite admits to the allegations, and Yumeko secretly records it. The stakes are raised to if Yumeko wins, then she will release the recording. Episode 9. For the bet, they will compete in various games, and when they win, they place a mark on a board. They have to get 3 marks in a row like tic-tac-toe to win. The first challenge is a singing contest, which Yumeko wins, securing the first mark on the board. Yumemite is holding back to make it more of a show for the attendees. A few more rounds are played and Yumeko ends up on match point. The next game is fan appreciation. They both roll dice to find a seat number in the audience, then both will guess the birthday of the fan, and whoever is closer will win. Yumemite thinks she won because she rigged the game by only letting members of her fan club in for the show. But Sumeragi actually helps Suzui and Mary get in. Yumeko manages to roll Mary's seat number, and of course Yumemite doesn't know Mary's birthday, so it's a 50-50 that Yumeko ends up winning. They play the recording for her fans to hear, but they end up not caring and supporting her anyway. After a short performance, Yumeko calls out whoever gave her the letter and the recording device. Yumemite speculates that it could be the one who helped set up and rig this event, Manyuta. He claims he didn't do it, so Yumeko challenges him with the seat at stake. Of course, he refuses because she has nothing of equal value to put at stake. So she uses her privilege as a house pet to initiate an official match. Episode 10. We get a quick look at the president who is having a meeting with the heads of each family. Back over to the official match. The game is choice poker, which is almost the same as poker. The difference is you can't fold or call. Whoever has the higher wager can also decide if the winning hand is stronger or the weaker hand. There's also no limit to how much money you can bet to earn this privilege. They play with 10 million yen chips, so Yumeko uses her debt to get 31 chips, whereas Manyuda gets 100 chips. Yumeko wins the first round, putting her at 42 chips and Manyuda at 89. In the next round, Yumeko makes a weird play by sending back 2 10s. After thinking about this for a bit, Manyuda decides to show his hand to lure Yumeko into betting. Yumeko, being Yumeko, goes all in. Manyuda raises 1 chip so that he can decide whether the winning hand is stronger or weaker. Immediately, he says stronger hand wins because of the 2 10s that she had sent back. This pays off and he wins, making Yumeko out of chips. The game should be over, but she asks Sumuragi for money so that she can keep playing. Still wanting to get back in the student council, Sumuragi agrees and lends Yumeko 100 chips to play with. Episode 11. The president, who is still in her meeting, begins to insult and antagonize the other members. The official match is getting back underway with a 100-chip donation to Yumeko. For the next round, Yumeko does the same thing as last round and sends back 2 queens. They go into the wagering round and each player keeps raising the pot in an attempt to get the right to decide whether the weak or strong hand wins. This keeps going until eventually Yumeko goes all in. Manyuda raises again, so Sumuragi adds 10 more chips to the game to raise. And of course, Yumeko's getting her rocks off watching this unfold. After a while, Sumuragi reaches her limits and can't raise anymore. So Yumeko suggests betting her life with the life program. After some reflection, she decides to do it and bites off her nails to show her fortitude. Which is kind of an incoherent thought process, but I mean, they're betting their lives, so I guess logic isn't really the theme of the show. Manyuda says that this isn't allowed, but it ends up being decided by the vice president that it's fine. Because Sumuragi is the daughter of the CEO of a massive toy company, it's decided that her net worth is estimated at 10 billion yen. Manyuda says that she doesn't have the authority, but it's revealed that the vice president was actually the president in disguise. Manyuda is convinced that he's going to lose if Yumeko gets the power to decide, so he bets his own life. He's next in line to become Vice Minister of Finance, so he's valued at 10 billion yen as well. And on that note, Manyuda gets the right to choose and he commits to the stronger hand. When the hands are revealed, Manyuda has a 3 of a kind and Yumeko has a 3 of a kind as well in jacks, so she wins. Manyuda has a Kaneki transformation for some reason. Yumeko and the president exchange some lesbian vibes and then they decide that they want to gamble. Episode 12. The last episode is the showdown between Yumeko and the student council president. Lolicons rejoice as Runa Yamasuki is the acting referee. They both agree the stakes will be whoever loses will never set foot in the academy again. The game they're going to be playing is called Tarot Cards of Fate. 22 tarot cards are placed in a circle and each card has a number on it from 0 to 21, which will act as its score. If it's upright from the perspective of the one who drew it, it'll be positive, and if it's upside down, it's negative. 3 people will flip a card, and the total of the 3 cards will be added together. If the total is positive, then Yumeko wins, and if it's negative, then the president wins. But the last card is the Fool, which will insta-win Yumeko the game if it's upright, and the same for the president if it's upside down. The game starts and Yumeko draws the Magician in the upright position for positive 1 point. For the president's draw, she gets the Reverse World, which is a score of negative 21 points. And that brings the total to negative 20, putting the president in a near unlosable position. The last draw is Suzui, and he notices a mark on one of the cards, which is the same blue as the president's lip gloss. The only card that she touched was the Fool, so that's the card that it had to be. But he thinks this could be a trick, so he picks randomly instead. He ends up picking Judgment in the upright position, which has a score of positive 20, bringing the total to 0 and ending the game in a tie. Neither the president or Yumeko has to leave, and it's never revealed if the marked card was actually the Fool. Runa is talking on the phone about Yumeko with Ririka Momobami, a relative of the president. And in the last couple of scenes, the president disbands the student council. That's pretty much everything that happened in Season 1, so I hope you guys can go and enjoy Season 2.
Jabami Yumeko だったか。たっぷりお礼してもらおう。